I don't get that. A meeting, we're about to have a sit down. Wrap the phone up in plastic and stick it in the fridge. They know what we are, but they don't know what we did. Anything about a mixer, murder getting sick.
All right, I'm Garret.G3 Instagram handle here. Welcome to my sit down. Today's guest, we got Ryan Garland, private equity, real estate developer, connoisseur with paradigms. So Ryan, welcome to the spot.
Dude, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, man. Really appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, we're doing the typical sit down, which is not your traditional style podcast. We're, here at my compound, hanging out, having lunch, typical meal prep, having the guys out and, enjoying some time with the family. Yep. So our goal is to kind of give you a glimpse as to what it looks like when a couple high-level guys sit down and just talk business, talk shop. We've probably been at it a couple hours already, but we're going to kind of formalize the approach here and get into business, memorialize what we discussed, and really dive further. So looking forward to it. So.
You know what, Garret, question for you, buddy, because I wanted to piggyback off some of the conversation we were just having. Your background and prior to the sale of your company, how long have you been in that development world?
Man, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So, in terms of real estate development and construction and things like that, pretty much my whole career.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah. So, my background is, I got into mortgage loans when I was a young kid and got recruited to these offices like you almost see on like Boiler Room or Wolf of Wall Street. And from there, I got into residential subdivisions, spec homes, and then entitlements and high-rise construction. And believe it or not, I geeked out and learned a lot of the codes, the building codes, and all the different alternative methods of construction for high-rises. And so pretty much my whole life, man.
Dude, you know what's cool is like as soon as you and I wrapped the first time, you were just telling me your background and kind of all the things that you've touched on. And that's why I felt like you're such a good leader, dude. And it's guys like you that I really, truly enjoy surrendering myself with, And your knowledge base, though, just in the few hours that I've spent with you, is impressive. Especially from private equity, selling your company, getting into private equity, which I know this is the direction you want to go.
Sure.
But dude, there's so much value that comes out of your mouth that I hope that even my network will follow you and really see all of the amazing things that you're doing, but all the amazing people that are all the things that you're doing to help these people grow. It's impressive, man.
Cool.
You got a cool, and thank you for letting me come into your pad, dude.
Yeah, man.
You're a whole lot better than I thought you were. Instagram, sometimes you're like, as a guy, like, is he really got what he has? No, you definitely have what you show you have. It's pretty cool, man.
Well, I appreciate it. It's funny how Ryan and I connected, and so we've been in the social media game for a while, and, every day you get different followers and you're looking at who followed you and kind of different profiles, stuff like that. And, I jump on Ryan's profile right away and I see, private equity, real estate development, boats, family, kids, like, I think, your wife is what, half Japanese or a quarter Japanese?
Half Japanese and German.
Yeah, so I'm just like, oh my God, here's my people, right? And so, I'm on social media to be social. I'm not on social media to say, hey, look at me, or this is how great I am. I'm here to network. I'm here to meet good people. I'm here to add to my repertoire and surround myself with like-minded individuals, on my level, on a higher level that I can learn from, grow with, so on and so forth. So I reached out to Ryan. I DM'd him right away. I'm like, yo, what up, dog? I love your profile. Boom. Hit the follow. We start rapping back and forth and set a date. And so, I want to take this time now and really talk about the fact that, it wasn't like, hey, we should get together sometime, or, guys at a high level move with speed. We move with velocity. And it was like, okay, great. We agree to do it. Like, we're going to agree to kick it and get together. Set a date, motherfucker. Yeah. Bang, bang. We set a date and here we are, right?
Well, shit, dude. I mean, we were, Joe and I were traveling for the last 2 weeks. We're back-to-back meetings. We're on basically a road show, standing up in front of, hundreds of people, teaching them what it is that we do, how to drive how to drive through a market, transition that we're in now, how to work ethic, mindset.
Right.
And when you hit me up 2 weeks ago and I'm like, hey man, I'm coming back that way. Yeah. I'll do a stop, come see you, do a podcast, and boom, go back home, Yeah. So you got to make it work regardless. Right. No matter what, if you want to be a high level guy, top producer, and whatever it is you do, you got to put in the work.
Sure. And a lot of guys would have been like, well, you know what? I'm tired, right? Yeah. I've been putting people on game for the past, week or two. I've already had all these speaking events. Like, let me get a little lull in my schedule. But I think you would agree that, as a top guy, when you push yourself and you're at the ragged edge, sometimes when you're tired and you really don't have anything more to give, that's when you give your best.
Well, that's what you really find out what you're made of. And you get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. And the only way for you to do better and scale and grow is to push yourself outside your comfort zone. So what I've realized is, like what I was telling you earlier, we didn't sleep much last night because our travels were early. We hosted, a big dinner for clients last night. But it's like one of those things that we love the pressure. We love the go. We're young still. We kind of think so. We're still young. We're in it. But we're right in the middle of it, and there's no better time to make more money and create true wealth in a market like this. 2008, dude, lost everything. I know you did too.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Mm-hmm. I told my family I would never go through that again.
Yeah.
So there's my why.
Right.
So when you have to push yourself outside that comfort zone. That's the only way you're going to scale, period. And be around the right people.
Yeah, and that's really the name of the game for me. It's being around the right people, right? So if I would have known what I know today when I was 25 and 30 or whatever age I was, even 5 years ago, if I would have known what I know today, and that's surround yourself with the right people, ask for help, right? Learn what other people are doing. And again, we talked about this afternoon. It's like if you see a cool guy at the gym, don't just nod, be like, "Yo, what up, dog?" Like, take some time, 5 minutes, break from your workout, ask the 5 W's. Who are you? Where are you from? What are you all about? Like, how do you make money, right? Like, why are you here? How come I've never seen you before? Understand these dynamics between, these interactions that you potentially just give up on by just nodding and saying what's up. Don't give up, take the time and say what's up.
Well, dude, it's crazy because I'm glad that you touched on that because a lot of people, like the way you and I connected, you reached out.
Yeah.
You said, "Hey, dude, what do you do? What are you up to?" And I think that's so cool because not everybody really does that.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Hey, this is what I do, and this is how I'm growing my business and my life." And it was just so cool that you started off so authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the world is missing. And I think that's why you are where you are, though, is you are pushing yourself and you're humble. You're not trying to show off and say, "Hey, look at me, I'm this big top producer," or "I'm this whatever in your whatever world you're in," right? But you're just so humble and real, and your Instagram's on fire, but it's real. And so you're talking real stuff. You're showing you're putting your heart on your sleeve. People truly appreciate that. Guys like me, at least, because to get to where I'm at, I took bullets, dude. So when I see another guy that's successful, I know he earned it. Every freaking dollar he's got in his pocket or what he's built. And you legitimately built this house.
Yeah.
So you are truly a self-made guy. And when you're around, if you're a self-made person, you can identify other self-made guys.
Real fast.
And that's where you're equally yoked and you want to surround yourself with those people.
Yeah.
They say you're the average of the 4 best friends that you spend time with, right? So if that's, so think about your influence. Who are you when you're around these level guys? If you want to scale, put yourself in better rooms.
Yeah.
Right? And that's really where what you're doing, and that's exactly why I'm here. Is I want to put myself in better rooms with guys like you and your network, my network. I can't wait to introduce you to some of my buddies.
Yeah.
But that's what needs to happen. But what happens is we explode.
Yeah.
What you do, I already know from what you do for a living. I got this guy over here. I know we'll marry up to you, and it just becomes an economy in itself. And it's freaking
synergistic
badass.
effect. Yeah,
badass.
Man. And so here's how you kind of made it, right? Like when you got to get in rooms with the right guys, the guys on your level, and it takes an airline flight, and it takes a coordination, and it takes a personal assistant, and you know what I mean? So I just think that's really cool, that like, okay, so here you are on your way back from Tennessee, stop in, see me, just make it happen. I mean, that's the name of the game. And so, guys like you make things happen. Right? You've been making things happen your whole life. So I think it's important we kind of talk about a little bit, as to what your business looked like. And, a lot of people probably don't even know what private equity is.
Yeah.
They hear this term, and we talked about it earlier today. It's something that they study in college now.
Yep.
It's actually not just a term for the elite, but something that's becoming more and more prevalent. So, with that being said, Ryan, tell us a little bit about private equity. Tell us about what you do.
Yeah.
I'd love for the audience to understand kind of more about, who you are, where you're from, and like how you got to this top level of where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, private equity firm founded out of Southern California. Got into the business back in 2004 to be exact. And I was in mortgage.
Sure.
I got into mortgage in a call center like you did.
Yeah.
You know, so I started with like literally at the bottom.
Sure.
And then right now we have about $850 million in projects on our platform. We're overseeing all of that. I manage multiple funds, SEC regulated compliance funds. You can even look us up on the SEC website. You can see all the stuff that we're managing. I have a $100 million debt fund. That's a fund that we're basically lending money to guys who are building homes, high-end homes, affordable homes, basically anything, but for fix and flips and so forth. And then we use that money, we sell the notes, on a secondary market, very similar to a standard mortgage company.
Sure.
But it's more private. And then we sell that, we recapitalize, and we do that over and over again. We're nationwide. So with the market that we're in right now, that is a great product because banks aren't lending money. So we saw a niche, we saw where there's going to be demand, and we filled that back in July of 2020, which I was telling you earlier.
Wow.
But kind of back into it, we also have we're syndicated for a winery, $185 million winery called Europa Village out of Temecula, California. We have a build-to-rent community out of, just outside Nashville, Tennessee. We finished 45 units of townhomes in Denver. We have, and my favorite is we build man caves.
Okay.
So all storage, boat and RV storage, man caves. So that's everything that we're building right now.
Sure.
So that's where we're going to probably lead into. So at the end of the day, what we are is we understand debt and equity. We understand how to work with investors. We raise capital for all these projects. We understand acquisitions. We understand structuring deals with contractors and basically erecting a deal to create wealth with investors that don't have a background in real estate but want to get into real estate. So with our ability to have the back office and all the systems that we have in place, along with my team, we erect a deal and we go out and make a bunch of money. So wherever the demand is, we follow it.
So barn dominiums, you're talking about, like I saw on your Instagram, you got boat storage, you've got exotic cars.
Yeah.
I envision this kind of oasis of guys with really nice high-end shit.
Oh, yeah.
And guys like us just kind of hanging out, parking our boats, doing business deals, offices, stuff like that. So tell me about your project. It's in Havasu?
So this one's in Lake Havasu, Arizona. So it's pretty much a hub for Southern California, Vegas, Scottsdale. They all kind of come here for that recreational lake life. What you're seeing is it's such a huge retirement community. So you're seeing a lot of baby boomers that are retiring, buying RVs, baby boomers traveling just to get away from the cold.
Yeah.
All that fun stuff. But it's the demand for storage there is unbelievable because you have so many people coming in from Southern California alone, 22 million people. So this is truly a hub for the boat and RV world. There's more man caves there than anywhere else in the country. Wow. So what's cool is that we wanted to kind of capitalize on a demand. We know how to build. We found some sites and we decided to build boat and RV man caves condos. So each one of these units are for sale, but they're caves. So you can go in there and customize them to anything you want. Guys are putting golf simulators in there. They're putting lifts in there and put all their high-end cars in there, RVs. I mean, the sky's the limit. You could put in, it's fully plumbed, air conditioned, the whole nine. So you could put in, bathrooms, showers, washer and dryers, kitchenettes, big screen TVs, movie theaters. I mean, literally whatever you want to do, you do. It's like an airplane hangar, but for boats and RVs where guys customize them.
So in my world, we'd say that you provided the warm shell, and I come in and I do the TI how I want it to do. So I'm the tenant or the owner, in this instance, the condominium. I'm going to come in and build it out exactly how I want. I'm going to do, you know me. I'm going to do the black epoxy floors and the aggregated walls and the neon lights and make it look like, star-struck paradise when you walk in to see the boat or whatever it is, kind of like the basement down there or whatever.
And what's cool is this product is so desirable. So we have one phase that's called Millionaires Row. And just because guys want to be in that, we've already pre-sold the majority of those units. And we're a year out from building that particular phase. This one's a big project. Yeah. But these are, think about anybody who's got a high-end boat. So for example, I'll back into this. So for one of my boats, it's for me to have my batteries on my boat, it's $6,500 for these batteries, right? These marine batteries. Yeah. If you leave your boat in a storage unit that's not air conditioned, the heat will automatically fry your batteries. Right. So you're spending $6,500 a couple of times a year to put new batteries in your boat.
Yeah.
You're blowing through all kinds of money. That's 12,
Right.
13 grand a year. So, and there's other things on your boat or RV or razor or car or all the things that you're stuffing in there. All of this stuff starts going bad when it's that hot.
Yeah.
So everyone's saying, well, look, I would rather buy something, either rent it out for cash flow or put my toys in there, get the write-off because I own the real estate.
Sure.
And then I could put my stuff in there and not have to worry about getting beat up. And as you know, these toys are getting more expensive.
Yeah.
So you're going to start caring about how you're maintaining them.
Yeah.
So these guys are putting $2 million skaters in there and boats. I mean, you guys have $1 million rigs as far as RVs. You got, customized razors that are over 100,000. I mean, basically anything you can think of that's all that luxury guy life stuff. It's badass. A lot of Lambos.
Yeah.
Like name it, man. Everyone's stuffing their toys in there.
Well, I kind of picture the Millionaires Row as a place I'd want to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of high level guys, a bunch of really exotic cars, cool stuff. But imagine if everybody built out a little office there and we all came to work with our respective businesses, right?
Yep.
You're private equity, I'm real estate development, whatever. And we're all partnering together over lunch. So, I picture a common area or something really cool where we can hang out and actually talk shop at the round table. And I think about, the kings of yesteryear. Everybody had a round table where the top guys from everybody came and sat down and we're really talking about all right, what's the big picture macro vision? What's all this look like? Whether it's business, it's life, it's family, and sharing our trials, sharing our
100%.
tribulations, because, we all talk high level and the things that we learn from our success, but we also learn from our failures, right? And I think it's important that we share that. Just yesterday with my little guy, I shared, hey, here's the one match he won today. He lost every other match. Like, we were crying, we were suffering, we were learning, but this is how we became, top level guys, we suffered.
Dude, this community is so badass. This particular one is 208 units.
Okay.
225,000 square feet.
Right.
The size that is. So all of those units, all those people that go in there, and I can't disclose some of these buyers because they're kind of big name guys.
Sure.
But these are guys that are, big bar owners, big, restaurant owners, guys that own high-end luxury car, dealerships, that type of stuff. So these are guys that truly have built a reputation for themselves and are established business owners, most of them.
Yeah.
So what's nice is you have those type of level guys that are going there to kind of decompress, or they're going there to work. And they're always got their garages up when the weather's nice. And you've seen all of those players kind of come in and see, and do whatever it is they're doing. But you're able to go and meet with them and spend time with them. And, during the holidays, people are dressing up their golf carts with lights and kind of doing that whole thing and barbecuing outside. And, so it's truly a community. It's a tribe. And that's what you're seeing people are becoming more addicted to. People are still yearning for that one-on-one connection and to be around like-minded people, as we've been talking about.
Right.
So that is what the community is really bringing to the table for everybody. So it's not just that, just the fact you got a man cave to put all your stuff in there. It's everything that kind of goes around. It's the energy of the place, the location, it's the amenities. It's all these wonderful things that just people are going, okay, if I have some extra dollars, I'm going to dump it into this because this is badass.
Yeah.
And another quick story. I looked at my all the sales contracts from my last phase. About 40 to 50% of those sales contracts were women. Huh. And some of them I knew them personally. I have friends that are all buying this stuff.
Sure.
So I call her and I call one of them and I say, hey, what are you doing buying this? And she goes, I'm buying it for my husband so I can get his ass out of the house because he bugs me all day long.
Oh,
so
shit.
she bought it for him, put him out there, and now he's got his so he goes out there and tinkers all day, and she's got her house back, and then she's got her garage back so she can park her car in the garage because all his toys are in their current garage. So now they're going, parking all his stuff in there. So it's actually pretty cool. So it's just like a cool, and the strike price, entry price is low.
Yeah.
Right? You're not buying a short-term rental or a Airbnb and $700,000. You got to step up in your basis if you're 1031. It's just you could buy this for $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, depending on how big it is, and dress it up to what you want. Yeah. So the entry price is still pretty solid.
Yeah.
And so it's not too much out of someone's pocket to be like, okay, I'm more comfortable. But again, it's appreciating asset. If you look at the assets in this area, it's like homes. You buy it for this price, homes are continuing to elevate, right? And that's what's happening in this area for these type of asset classes as well. So it's badass. A lot of people love this stuff. It's cool.
Well, we talk about like proximity and we talk about tribes, and for years, men have been part of tribes, right?
Yeah.
They've been part of men's groups. They've been part of gangs. They've been part of, roundtable discussions and these high-level events where everybody gets together. But I think in today's world, that's happening less and less, And to your point, the women are like, they want men to be part of men's groups. They want the men to leave the house and actually go be men, right? And I think more and more in today's society that the women are really understanding, even more so than the men, that like, it's okay for us to leave for a weekend and go do things together, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. And so hats off to the women out there that are buying these things and get that, because a lot of men don't, I mean, we coach men all the time, like, hey, listen, you got to find time to go do man stuff, right?
Yeah.
You got to find time to like let your adrenaline pump, to drive fast cars, to challenge yourself, and we've even been talking to a couple guys, high-level guys that I do business with about, and I'm going to coin the term man camp. We're probably not going to call it man camp, right? But the point is, we're talking about creating a man camp where, like, we all get together for a weekend, rent a big house, and we mastermind, and we talk business, and we share success, and we share trials and tribulations and the things that, like, the tribe needs to learn from each other, because, all the suffering and challenges I've endured, right, through my various business dealings and relationships and so on and so forth, can serve to like give you the heads up about those so you don't have them, right? And vice versa. And so if we're not collectively just sharing in our wins and losses and stuff like that as a tribe, then we're not really elevating to the level we need to be at.
Well, when I knew you and I kind of clicked even further is when you picked me up at the airport today.
Yeah.
And within 10 minutes, I'm already saying, hey, call this attorney. Yeah. This is a good attorney to call. I've used this guy forever, So those are I tell everybody this, like say, my top 10 guys that I hang out and spend time with, the very first thing we talk about are all the problems that we have and the attorney fees that we're spending shit on for, whatever the hell it is we're going through.
Sure.
But it's true, man. That if you're going to elevate, you're going to be dealing in that world. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoy having those conversations with people that have literally gone through a ton of shit.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
If you want to elevate, the bigger you are, the bigger that target gets on your back too.
Well, and we talked about that. I was telling you about my 65 unit deal that I had, right? Multi-family deal. Got the full, discretionary entitlements issued, got the project description, to where everything was set up, and then the neighborhood sued me, right? And my first knee-jerk reaction was, I'm fucking pissed. I can't believe these guys are suing me. But then I really, took a step back and I thought to myself, well, these are problems I've been working 25 years to have, right? Yeah. I'm super thankful and blessed to have been sued by this neighborhood for this real estate development that, like, I just got approved. Okay, boss shit. Let's celebrate. You know what I mean? And so, I called my buddy and his knee-jerk reaction was, I can't believe those fuckers. But then when I shared my perspective with him, he's like, wow, that's really insightful, And it took me a couple hours to come to that perspective, right? But I got there and I'm like, okay, like this is okay, right? But like if we don't have that experience and that kind of shared brotherhood, it's tough to really figure things out, for yourself. Well,
so let's be honest. The reason why you handled that and your mindset was in the right place, and it only took you a couple hours to come off that, is because you've gone through so much prior to that.
Yeah.
So now you've been able to, okay, just bring that shit on. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But put it in the right perspective. You handled it and you offloaded it, right?
Yeah.
So there really was no real skin in the game.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, as long as you have the right perspective, you can pretty much handle anything. It's about mental stamina.
Yeah.
It's really what it comes down to. And if the more shit you have on your plate, dude, the more shit's gonna fall off too. Mm-hmm. Bottom line.
Part of the deal. And we're not perfect.
No.
Right? As much as we want to pretend that we are and strive for perfection, because I think, the Bible teaches about try to be perfect, right? Well, is that an achievable goal? No.
Nope.
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try and go undefeated.
Right.
Right? Like, that's what I do. It's what I train my son to. He says, hey, Dad, is it okay if I lose? Well, yeah, it's okay if you lose. But, like, don't plan for that shit.
Right.
Plan for winning, because if you go into any type of battle situation or business dealing and you're talking about losing the fight, then you've already lost. Yeah, you've already lost.
You got to
go
mindset. You got to go in with it knowing and really believing that you're going to win.
Yeah.
So the likelihood of that win going up is much greater.
Yeah, I agree. So tell me a little bit about, because we touched on mindset, and it's, you go on the internet, you search personal development, you look at all these different gurus and kind of high level guys, life coaches, this and that and the other thing, and they're all talking about mindset. And so I'm the type of guy that I'm like, well, what's the relevance, right?
Yeah.
Like, you hear a lot of different stuff out there, but it's like, okay, well, what does it mean to have a strong mindset? What's it, what relevance does that have to like my day-to-day life? So tell us a little bit about kind of your mindset, and I'll segue into mine and how that's, really helped shape who you are.
You know what? I think I've kind of, so first of all, I'm at a place now in my life where I've lost friends, family, people that I really loved that worked for me. I've had so many losses now that I realize that as I get older, life just simply does not get easier.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Right.
And like we were talking about before, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And when you just learn that life kicks you in the teeth, it's unbelievable. And it's never going to stop. And I'll go back into that question more, but what I've realized too is when I have a group of guys that I sit down with that I respect, and I see their hustle, and I see how much they truly love their family, and I know their why, even though they're putting on that shield every day and going out and fighting battles, I know who they really are when they drop that.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've realized is that everybody has hardships. So when you sit around and you let everybody else talk, 2 ears and 1 mouth for a second, you'll see that everybody else has battles that they're fighting too. Yeah. And every once in a while, you'll sit back and be like, yeah, that's a fight I'm glad I'm not in. And all of a sudden, it takes your hardships and it doesn't make it feel like it's so bad.
Yeah.
Because I'm around guys that are pushing themselves. They just have had so much shit thrown at them. And I love the fact that they're willing to obviously open up and share their hardships. Yeah. So at the end of the day, what I've learned is that everybody's got shit on their plate. Everybody. And you're going to always go, it's almost like no matter how wealthy you want to be, how hard you want to go in business, or if you don't mind just working at Del Taco for the rest of your life, you're going to have hardship. Yeah. You're going to get a flat tire and you can't afford it if you work at Del Taco and not get to work. Like you're never going to end. So I think where my mindset is there's one thing that's always stuck with me is kind of that mental stamina. Everybody that I know that will win in life, it's the ones that can endure the most but handle the most, meaning they can control their mind and not overthink or throw in the towel or quit and just, that power of one more like Ed Milet talks about. Yeah. That power of one more truly is extremely powerful. And I'm a firm believer of just don't quit, keep going. And I've now had enough wins that I believe in myself more. Yeah. I also know that things come in waves and everything within hardship will pass. So I think at this point, I'm just so much more easy going that anything that gets thrown at me, I really don't even lose sleep at it. There's so many things that come at me still to this day, daily, like big things. Right. All of a sudden it's quiet and boom, here comes a storm. Yeah. But somehow, some way, I still go to sleep. I wake up and know it'll all pass. Yeah. Now it's just about being methodical, using my resources, being calculated, slow to react, and try to do this from a business mindset. Remove the emotion. Right. If you can do that, you literally fucking control everything. You can control your outcome and your destiny.
Yeah. Trying to be smooth about it. Yeah. Trying to be smooth about
it. Try to be smooth, man.
It's like, okay, well, I slipped on the, ice and I got to just, make a joke about it. Be smooth about it, get back up. Like, hey, everyone slips and falls,
so
right?
True, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember when I was a young kid, I met this gentleman who, immigrated to the country and did real well for himself and had multiple companies, multimillionaire, real guy, smooth guy. But, he would make the most difficult shit and challenging situations look easy. And he would just be like, it's da-da-da. And he was just so smooth about everything, right? But I think as I get older, it comes from the experience. Yeah. It comes from having been in that situation and knowing that, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to work it out. It's going to be fine, right? Yeah. And having the faith that not only do you have the skill sets and the experience, but also just kind of trusting in the process, and knowing that the good Lord above is going to have your back. It's all going to see its way through in the end, right?
And everything happens for a reason. Just kind of roll with it,
And the reason is, you either someone's out to destroy you or, God's out to get you better or whatever it is, but it's up to how you respond to that challenge, what it's going to do and shape you to be, right? So it's like, am I going to look at this challenge like, the end of the world, or I'm going to look at it like an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
You know, and then the question is like, do you want to be up in the bottom of the ninth? And the answer for me is every single time.
Yep.
You know, I'm the guy that wants to, I'm okay with striking out. That's fine. You know, I want to be up though and at least have the opportunity, because if I don't have the opportunity, then I'm not going to have the experience. Right. If I don't have the experience, then I'll never be smooth about shit.
Yep.
You know, so that's how I look at it.
So in regard to the construction management side though, what was your specialty?
So my specialty as of late, you know, the last company I sold was entitlements, permits, and building code. Right. And so, you know,
the hard shit,
the stuff nobody wanted to do. Right. So, you know, I had to literally raise my hand and say, hey, all the shit nobody wants to do, I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
Like I'll pick up the shovel, so to say, for lack of a better analogy. Right. And so, you know, dealing with the local municipality, dealing with the building codes. And what I always found interesting is, you know, you got all these top-notch architects, engineers, civil, structural, and we're building a brand new project, and the city can't figure out like why we can't build it to code, right? Like the code's black and white, you have to build it to code, and it's like, well, hold on a second. We've got to make money here. Yeah. We've got site constraints. We don't build on a perfect square every time, right? It's not, you know, everything fits together like a puzzle. And so, you know, when I realized that like, wow, like, you know, these building codes are constantly being evaluated subjectively. Yeah. There's constant interpretation of the code, right?
You got political shit.
You
got all that stuff.
Exactly.
Man.
And so it's this amalgamation of all these different elements that come together to like, you know, direct what's approvable, what's not approvable, so on and so forth. And so when I kind of learned the way the game was played and how these building codes worked, right, and how to, you know, get the projects approved, and then making sure that like we were underwriting if they were approvable and we could finance them and actually afford to build what we entitled.
Right.
Because so too often these guys come up with these great ideas, these architects, these engineers, like, oh, this building's going to be so sexy, and I'm the guy in the room that's like, well, we can't afford to build that. They're like, well, how do you know? I'm like, well, I just know. They're like, well, how? It's like, well, I've got the experience, right? Yeah. I've sat in rooms like this, and I've priced out building facades like that. I know what our targeted pro forma is, and guess what? It's not going to make any sense, I promise you. So, like, please don't entitle that, because then I'm going to have to change it in another year, you know? And so just being in those rooms long enough, and I actually had the fortuitous ability to work on 50, 60 projects annually, right? So most developers work on 5, 6, 7 projects in a lifetime, 10 projects in a lifetime, or maybe a cycle, right? And so for me to have purview over 50, 60 projects at any given time, I saw a lot of shit.
And it wasn't always in the same city, so you're dealing with so many different personalities on every project, different requirements, different building codes, different everything.
Yeah.
So to have 50 projects is a lot.
It was a lot, man.
That's a lot.
And I had a skeleton staff, and here's actually a good story. So, you know, a lot of my staff members in the past were like former architects and engineers and like construction managers. And I realized they were, you know, after it took me a while of suffering, but I realized they were the worst people to work in that industry, right? Because they had this like rigid mentality. And they weren't flexible. And so what I started to do is I started to hire executive assistants.
Yeah.
And a lot of the best, you know, workers that I had were former executive assistants, because executive assistants work under constant stress and pressure, right? They work with people who change their mind immediately, like a drop of a hat and a whim, right? Travel plans, just like you, right? Oh, I'm going to go to Sacramento. I'm going to do, you know, whatever. And so, you know, these executive assistants had the ability to acclimatize and adapt to different situations, right? They had the ability to like smooth in and out of different things. And so once I figured out like that was my best staff member, then I started to hire around like the top level executive assistants that were out in the marketplace looking for jobs. And it was like, well, what do these people have to do with building codes? Well, nothing, right? But they had the flexibility, they could work under pressure, and they had all the attributes I needed to train them. And more importantly, they didn't have this background that was so rigid with regard to like building code and formal education and stuff like that. So, and
coming in with bad, you know, if they're in that industry, especially in development, real estate world, they'll come in with bad habits, wherever they learned it from. So there's a reason why they jumped. Yeah. You know, you're like, so bringing somebody else on that has the attributes, but not necessarily the background in that field, sometimes actually carries a lot of weight. It goes a lot farther.
Yeah.
You know?
I had a guy call me the other day. he's got a $100 million solar company, right? And his, he just spun this company up. It's a long story, but within 24 months, he built a $100 million solar company, and his name's John. And John calls me up and he's like, hey man, like, do you have a copy of the ad that you used to run for your, former executive assistants? Because I'm trying to build a team that can permit my jobs and I'm struggling, right? He's like, can you send me that ad copy? And I was like, I don't know if I still have it, John. I'll look. If not, I'll write it for you. He's like, well, I'll pay you. I'm like, no problem. Like high-level guys do high-level favors for each other. Totally. It's what we do, So I stoked him out, and I ended up writing the ad copy, and like he was super thankful for that. But it's funny that he remembered my hiring strategy, and it actually brought me back to the day where we were talking, and I was like, I cracked the fucking code, bro. I got 3 great employees, and they all came like this. He's like, no way, that's crazy. I'm like, yep. So, and I built the company off that strategy, literally. So,
yeah, and that's the thing that I think you're adding a lot of weight, a lot of value to people that are watching, is you just gave a nugget that people should probably really take away as far as the type of personalities to hire if you're looking to scale your business.
Yeah.
Those are the things that every time you talk, I even kind of go, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I totally understand. Or you're teaching me a couple things.
Yeah.
So which I love. So it's cool to see that you're implementing and still training people the way that works. Mm-hmm. I hate seeing coaches or anybody that want to be an influencer in any way that say they know what they're doing and they don't have a background in doing it.
Right.
But it's those like in-depth parts of the conversations like you're delivering that it really is true fruit of what it really is going to turn out to be. And so meaning, you're saying, look, if you're going to hire people and you're looking to scale, even though they may not be in the field, this is the personality to chase.
Yeah.
People that can deal in high stress if you have a high stressful career. Mm-hmm. Whatever you're trying to do, you need. And what I like about the executive assistant stuff because I have an executive assistant. What I love about them is they get so close to you that you want them to think like a business owner.
Yeah.
And they do, because they're next to you while you stress. They're sleeping the same sleep they're literally next to you wearing your shoes.
Yeah.
So if they care, and they're those type of hearted people.
Sure.
They will be another you, and they're going to deliver whatever it is you're giving them the assignment on delivering.
Well, empathy,
so you nailed it.
Yeah, empathy is the key component to business, right?
Yeah.
If you can't sit across the table with the guy you're doing business with and empathize with where he's at, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're selling a consulting package or you're trying to plug in as a subcontractor or you're, negotiating with the landowner. If you can't put your self in his shoes and empathize with his position and understand the psychology of that, then you're not going to win that negotiation or even walk away with any fruit at all. Right? So that empathetic approach, I think, is kind of a lost art, and I always think, like, what's it like to stand in his shoes?
Yeah.
How's he going to perceive my message, right? And understanding that and thinking about that ahead of time is super important, right? Yeah. And so I think about that as well. A lot of these coaches, have never scaled businesses, have never had businesses. They're not currently running one. They're not actively involved in them. And so they're very similar to my college professors, right, that were teaching me construction management, communications, business. Well, they've never ran a business. Right? They've never owned a company. They've never made any real money. The accounting, professor teaching me, accounting methodologies for money he's never made. Right? And it's like, I'm sitting there going like, oh my God, like, what am I doing here? Right? So I think, in terms of investing into education and investing into people and yourself, invest into people that like have invested into themselves, number one, who are personally developed, right? But invest into somebody that has been there, done that, and has the experience, right?
I got a question for you. Just kind of popped up.
Sure.
Have you ever been in a position where you were like, fuck it, I'm about to lose everything, but I'm going to go all in on one thing?
I have. I really have.
Tell me the story.
Okay, so, it was 2008. And
oh shit.
Yeah, it was 2008, and I was about to lose everything, and this guy, he was an insurance broker, and he'd been there and done that a few different times, had a successful insurance agency, and he said, there's 2 types of people that are going down the tubes, right? One guy, he's going down the tubes and he's holding on, he's trying to brace himself, right? Imagine we're in a big, circular tube. He's bracing himself, and when he gets to the bottom, he might not bounce very hard, but he's going to be stuck at the bottom, right? There's another guy that's like, fuck it. and puts his hands over his head, and he hits the bottom, and he bounces right back up, right? Yeah. And he literally lets go of everything because he knows he's going down and just bounces right off the bottom. He's back to the top in no time. Or you can fight it the whole way down, lose all your momentum, and then you've got no momentum, right? And this guy, at the time, I didn't consider him very smart or insightful or whatever, but I think about that a lot, right? And it's like, you know, there's sometimes, you know, it's like Solomon says in the Bible, there's a time for war, there's a time for peace. Yep. There's a time to fight to the bitter end, and then there's like a time to just let go and just be like, all right, now what, right? Yeah. And so that's always just kind of stuck with me, right? And I don't give up. I'm not the type of guy that's like, I'm going to give up, right? But there is a certain time and a place to know it's just like, hey, you know, just let this one go and we'll live to fight another day. Right?
I got a story for you.
Okay.
All right, so 2008.
Yeah.
Market took a shit, owned my own mortgage company, had all my buddies, like boys that I went to high school with, basically working for me, right? And you know, after the crash, literally, we went from, you know, 50, 60, 80, 100 loans a month to nothing, right? And
overnight.
So, literally overnight.
Yeah.
And so a couple months go by, my burn rate is X. I go to the guys I had like an office meeting every Monday, just kind of execute whatever the plan is for the week.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, and it's crickets. Everyone's still dressed up, ready to go. It's like something you'd see in a movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, guys, I have an idea. Why don't we take the $80,000 I have left in savings? Why don't we fly to Vegas private, throw all of our money in one good heave-ho for the weekend, blow all of our money, come back, file bankruptcy, live in this house for 5 years, and become pizza delivery guys. And they're like, fuck it, let's go. So Monday, dude, I had my assistant at the time book a flight.
Yeah.
We get on the flight, we're out to Vegas. I think we ended up at Hyde, which was at Bellagio back in the day.
I
I don't know if it's even there
anymore.
Anyway, so went to Hyde. I'm probably $50,000 deep. I'm buying bottles for everybody at this bar.
Yeah.
People are coming from other bars, you know, to come to this place. It's popping.
Yeah.
Well, this really wealthy Asian guy comes walking up to me. And the way he was walking up to me, he's older, and I just kind of like sobered up real quick. And he goes, so tell me your story. What are you doing? Like blowing all your money, you know? By the way, thanks for the drink. But he had an IWC watch on, Prada glasses, probably a $5,000 suit. He was well polished, speak perfect English.
Right.
And come to find out, we kind of rapped for a little while. Come to find out, he was a former hedge fund manager from China, retired, saw this coming as far as this crash.
Right.
Went and raised $2 billion with a family office. Scaled an entire team in a high rise on north side of Vegas, and had 13,000 square feet of nothing but analysts in there.
Wow.
And somehow, some way, he worked his way in with, you may remember this, the auction platform from the FDIC, when they were basically bailing out banks back in 2008.
Yeah.
New Century, Countrywide, all those guys. He had an auction platform to offload all the distressed assets that were on, you know, their negative portfolio. So what was happening is he had these auction platform. So he goes, well, hey, come meet me. Here's my card. Meet me on Monday. I'm having an auction you'd probably be interested to see. Something stuck with me. Yeah. So that Monday we're supposed to fly back, but I kind of pushed the flight back to go to this meeting.
Yeah.
I walk into this meeting. I'm there for 4 hours, fully catered. Guess what? CEO of New Century, Countrywide, all these big guys are in there with their billionaire friends buying back their own assets for pennies on the dollar.
Wow.
And they're talking about, you know, 5-year holds, 10-year holds, how what kind of wealth that would make, what the projections of a bounce back would look like, what type of real wealth is in there. And when you look at it, basically they're buying these things at 50, 60 cents on the dollar. Depending on when you hold it and how long you do hold it, you'll make even more, right?
Right.
And so what was happening is they had this whole entire analytics system, like this whole basically database that had how many women bought houses on 228 LIBORs or option arms, or, you know, interest only, that'll come due,
5-1s,
whatever, 5-1, 7-1, whatever. So they, all the way from like women to like new development, and what home builders were using what mortgage companies and selling this amount of loans during new sales. I mean, it was wild, the data. And so at the end of the day, I was so moved by it that I was like, this is where the money's made.
Right.
That guy comes up to me at the very end and goes, so what'd you think? And I said, well, you know, my story is not like I have billions of dollars, but it was impressive to see this.
Yeah.
And because they auctioned off probably $3 or $4 billion in assets that day.
Wow.
Man, there was probably 40, 50 people in the room, and private security. Like, it was total wild, right?
Yeah.
So the guy says, look, I'm going to give you $30 to $50 million a month. You go back to Southern California, and I basically want you to buy short sales, REOs, distressed assets, buy up everything you can, and here's basically your metric.
Yeah.
So I came back to Cali.
Here's the formula for purchase.
Here's basically our asset class, and in a nutshell where you need to hover. So I come back to Cali. I'm still trying to write loans. He wanted me to do stated income loans again, just to try to get people out of bad loans and keep them in their houses. And I really like this about this guy. He wanted me to figure out a way where I can help families stay in their home. So that way, because one of the biggest things during a financial crisis is more divorces. Sure. Right? There's more divorces happen through financial hardship. So he was like, if you could figure out a way to keep families in their homes, it's a win-win. That's when we'll make real money. Wow. I'm like, wow, I like that he wants to give back. Yeah. And so that was stuck with me still to this day. Like, if you could help others, you'll make money too. Right. It's all about yourself, right? Yeah. So I basically, what really kicked us off is we started doing short sales leasebacks with options. So I would go with my agents and say, hey, if you want to pick up listings, this may be a way to pick up listings. But go to your buyers or your owners and say, I have a buyer that will buy this and lease it back to you. And after 36 months, we'll sell it back to you at whatever the value is of the market. Oh, wow. And so now we're basically keeping people in their homes. We're keeping marriages together. Taking the delta on the upside. They're getting a principal reduction because we're buying it at 65, 70 cents on the dollar through a short sale. It's worth $1 million. We're buying it for $700,000. Yeah. Well, most areas didn't depreciate 30%, 25, right, what have you. Right. But anyways, at the end of 3 years, they could buy it back with an FHA loan. Wow. So people jumped on that bandwagon all day long. Their mortgage and rent payment dropped significantly. They're shaving off 30% of their principal balance. Wow. They kind of get a chance to start over in 3 years, and they're not going to lose home ownership in essence. Right. They can keep their marriage and their kids and so forth in, whatever schools they're in. Yeah. It was the coolest thing that I got into. So that first round we did, it was November of 09, and that was $33 million for 276 short sales. Wow. And we took off. And we ended up opening up an office in Vegas because that was where the foreclosure capital of the country was. And it was like Inland Empire, what have you. Right. And we scaled, dude. And that's actually how I got into the investment sector, because then I realized, okay, as the market was shifting, hence the name Paradigm, I got into going back to doing loans, but hard money loans. Got it. And then I was like, I don't want to deal with these contractors that lie, cheat, and steal. I would rather just lend these guys money. Yeah. And if they screw up, I'll foreclose and take the property back. So I stayed in that, and that's how we just, over time, zeros we're coming in behind deals, and we just started doing more deals and just kind of monetized over time, dude. And I presume by taking deals back, you became the developer and got your development experience. There you go. So right? As we're taking properties back, we're like, well, this property needs to be completed. So then we're bringing in people to complete it. Right. So then we're, in essence, overseeing the construction. So that's where we really, sharpened our blade on that side. But now, when I have a big, check writer looking at me and say, well, I want to invest in your company, I love the fact that you're not just a cute suit and tie guy. Right. You actually know how to get your hands dirty. You can go in there and basically reposition an asset that may be broken, not finished, whatever. Sure. And now we can make some real money, where was the case in 08. So the fact that we have a development background, we have a development arm, and we know how to do lending, it's a win-win for my investors in that particular space. But yeah, man. So in essence, the idea was to try to become more vertically integrated, having all of the attributes to oversee assets to be successful, but not be such a big bank with so many assets under management that they're just another number. Right. We want to be hands-on. So now investors look at us and say, okay, we see your portfolio, we see your size and your team, but you have the ability to stay close to each asset. So the likelihood of those things going upside down is much less. Yeah. So we're creating security in a market like this that's absolutely fucking needed. Yeah. Right. So, anyways, that's kind of the story on how I got into it and where we are today. But man, that's that. I'm losing everything. Yeah. I have no fucking other option than to go all in. Yeah. And that was one of several stories of me going, fuck it, here we go. I'm going all in, baby. And it worked out. And because of that, I wouldn't be here where I am today. Yeah. Well, and that's a great story, because it's, you called me out and said, hey, what was your takeaway from losing everything? Well, okay. All in, going down the tubes, hands above my head, let's bounce back. Same deal. Go to Vegas, put it all on black. Hopefully it works out. One last hurrah, 50-50, dude. Yeah, and that's the thing. But so that common theme among us, which we didn't even know prior to this discussion, is faith. Right? Yeah. That no matter what, it's going to work out because we're going to do our best to work it out, right? I appreciate you talked about that earlier too. I don't think a lot of people share that stuff anymore. I think it sucks that people don't, but I do believe in a higher power.
Sure.
I do believe everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And when you just have had, again, those wins or losses, and you've been able to survive, and things have always been okay, you got your health, you're still young, you got the fight, you got a family that'll support you and love you no matter what happens, it makes it easier to handle hardship.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Yeah, that higher power is the key.
Yeah, it is. And you know, it's one of those things where, you know, depending on what you believe or what have you, what I believe is that, like, God rewards those that take action in faith. That's right. And so, you know,
that's true.
Yesterday, my son, you know, national champion wrestler, I drove an hour to practice in faith, you know, and then we got done with practice. I drove another half hour. And so my entire evening, I think I got home at like 10 o'clock at night. His grandfather, you know, we left at 3. He's like, where have you been this whole time? Like, oh, we've been training, right? But it's weeks and days and months and literally years of practicing like that in faith that he's going to get good. Like, would he have gotten good if I didn't do that? Nope. There's not a chance in hell. Right. Did I know he was going to get this good? No. He could have still sucked. Right? I mean, some kids just don't have the natural talent, right?
Yeah,
but like in faith, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this action. I'm going to do this stuff, right?
Well, shit, your blood's running through his veins. You knew he's going to be a winner no matter what. You know what I mean? And if you got a good leader, that's the likelihood of that kid to succeed is much greater.
Yeah.
So that's a testament to you as a father, dude. That's a testament to you making sure you're spending the time and being present.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, it's not going to go that way.
Yeah.
So kudos to you on that one.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, and it takes a lot of faith. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
You know.
So what's your next big move? Where do you want to go? I know I think you and I totally geeked out on the private equity side. I think that's where you and I are connecting for sure.
Right.
Because you basically built a company, sold it to a private equity firm, which is fucking not easy at all to do.
Yeah.
I know enough about that world that's just like, man, you've had to have a lot of infrastructure to do that.
Yeah.
Ton of respect. But I know you want to hover in that space. You love the development side. You love the real estate side, the private equity side. What's your big vision, and what do you ultimately believe that you're going to hit? What's that one thing you're like, in 5 years, I want to be right here?
Well, for me, it's helping others scale and exit businesses. You know, so that's the number one goal, right? I want to take guys that are stuck in the middle of their business, that have high-paid jobs as business owners, that don't know how to get out of the rat race. I want to show them what I did, implement similar systems, similar processes, and help them get out of the middle of the business so they can work on the business, not in the business, right? And actually create something of value that can be scaled and exited, right? So I'd love to give back. I'd love to help people. I'd love to keep networking with private equity guys like yourself, to where not only can I help these people with the systems and the processes and so on and so forth, but I can actually help fund their deals, right? And package them up together and participate in business roll-up models and these other, you know, real high-level ventures that not only help us, you know, as top level guys, but help others on the lower level that feel trapped, right? You know, you talk to guys that own roofing companies or MEP agencies or, you know, these service-based businesses, and these guys are last of a dying breed. You know, they're 50, they're 60 years old. They've been working 10, 12 hours a day. They might make $1 million, $2, $3 million a year or whatever. Sounds like a lot of money to most people. But by the time you pay taxes and your employees and the headache and you're trading your life for this money, it's not a lot of cash, right?
No.
So I'd love to help these guys get out of the middle, leave a legacy for their family, their children, because many of them have family and children that really don't want to take over, right? You know, these younger guys don't want to work in service-based, physical, you know, activity-style businesses. And I got to tell you, like, Wall Street's coming for these guys, right? They're trying to buy these companies up and dilute them and devalue them and get these guys to go away so they can take over the service-based, real hard worker, blue-collar businesses, right? So if you're a blue-collar worker out there and you don't know what to do and you want to scale and exit your business, like, hit me up. We've got the private equity guys at the table. You know, we've got the money, we've got the experience, we know how to scale things. That to me is where I'd like to go.
Well, dude, in getting into the weeds to help someone scale, when you're working in the business like that, let's just say it's a roofing company.
Yeah.
You know, what you bring to the table is understanding what the institutional world is going to look for.
Yeah.
So creating a right pro forma, trimming the fat in certain aspects, bringing on the right team, putting you on the board, you know, having the right person to get the right lines of credit, have the ability to get more receivables, what relationships to establish, who to bank with. All of that stuff matters. Who to get who's your CPA, your bookkeeping, how are you filing your taxes. Basically set that company up to say, hey, my exit price is going to be here. This is my evaluation in the next 4, 5, 10 years. How can we also implement technology and systems, right, to be able to really allow you to scale that? Because that's where also the world's going. So your ability to understand trends too in the private equity space is impressive, just from our own conversations.
Sure.
That's the in the weeds type shit that you're going to give and deliver to those guys that are like, hey, I'm making my $1 million, my $2 million a year. I have a lifestyle, but I know I can't literally quit tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have to figure out a way to exit and still make this. If I quit, it won't run on its own.
It'll die.
It'll die. This business is over. I have great back office, but they still don't have the vision. Okay, great. Let's create the systems where that vision is always going to continue, that now it will eventually run on its own. That's what makes it scalable. And now you can sell the company. But you got to get all that infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
That's what you deliver.
Well, and I've been there, right? I've been forced with, I've been in the middle of this company for 8 years now, right? And I know if I leave and take a vacation for a month, it's going to all crumble in front of my eyes, right? I'll go from being top dog CEO to oh my God, I have nothing overnight. Yeah. And I knew that because I'm honest with myself, right? I'm honest with my assessment of businesses, of athletes, right? Yeah. When my kid does a good job, I tell him. When he does a bad job, I tell him, hey, dude, that was a terrible job, right? Yeah. Here's the video of how that looked. Yep. It's terrible. This is how you fix it. Let's fix it, right? And so I'm my own worst critic on myself that way, right?
Dude, it reminds me of that Instagram that I see that coach goes out on the pitching mound with that kid. He's probably 11. Okay. And he goes, listen, he's all mic'd up, and he goes, listen, I know all of your parents say it's okay if we win or lose. Well, your parents are losers. Okay? So you're not going to be a loser. You're going to win, and this is what you're going to do. And I think that is so funny, man. It's so true. Everyone's like, it's okay. You're going to get a gold star and at the very end of we're here to make winners, man. You got to win. And at the end of the day, that's what's missing in the world. Yeah. But you got to implement that hardcore practices to scale your business and move forward in life and all. Yeah. So you have to it's okay to have hardship. Sure. It's okay to fight your way through things. It's okay to take bullets. Not everybody that gets shot dies. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's okay to take a couple bullets here and there, but it is bragging rights. Yeah. And sometimes women love scars. Right? So it's the way it goes. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about figuring out the way to get your business to a level where it runs on its own. We all hear that. But that is when the business becomes scalable, because you sit back and you go, okay, how can I bolt on more assets to this to really take it farther? If you're not in that mindset right now, you're going to fail. Yeah. Because you're going to get sick, you're going to have hardship, you may lose a loved one, you're going to lose energy, you will burn out. So your risk of losing your business is high right now. Yeah. You got to start implementing practices now. Start thinking about retirement. It doesn't matter if you're 25 years old or you're fucking 40. There's no better time to start planning your exit than now.
100%, I agree. And so speaking of exits, let's talk about your business, right? You got $850 million under management. Obviously you're doing some really unique stuff with the barn dominiums, the condo projects, so on and so forth. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
So I'll be honest, man. You know how everybody wants to have a dick swing at some point, right? Let's be real. Sure. I want to be, which I'm hoping we're going to announce pretty soon, that we're going to be the largest man cave developer in the country. Okay. And what I really like, I'm a big trend guy. I watch spending habits, kind of what certain generations are doing, right? Sure. So one of the things, what's a big movement right now are barn dominiums. Yeah. The whole barn concept. Right. My next play is, we're building badass storage units to park your toys. But what about if you could build badass storage units that were designed like barns that you can live in? Oh yeah. Now we're talking, dude. Yeah. High end finishings, a lot of glass, stuff that just is amazing to be, and you just don't want to leave. Sure. But you have all your toys too. Yeah. So to be able to have all of your stuff in one spot, I think would be killer. But also being sensitive to the market. Try to build them in a way that's affordable, and also use the construction methodology to be able to get these things financed properly with a conventional mortgage.
Right.
Because right now my product can't be financed. You have to pay cash. So there's nothing but millionaires buying my stuff.
Sure.
At the end of the day, if I can allow people to have financing, I'll sell a whole lot more, because about 60% of our inquiries, people are asking about finance options.
Sure.
Well, okay, well that's a huge 60%. I could sell 60% more. So if I sell 1,000 units a year, I could do 1,600 units a year, right? That's kind of how I think. I'm like, okay, well that changes things. But that also helps me when I decide to either go public, which is a plan of mine, or and when I exit, because that's really what you're doing. If you decide to take that company public, you're thinking of an exit. That's the plan.
Yeah.
But if I can own, so as you know, builders, the real value that builders have, like the D.R. Hortons, the Pulte Homes, it's how many lots they own.
Yeah.
That's the real value. How much land they own, how many lots they own. That's where it's at. So when I was talking to you before, which you and I got to dive into this, have an acquisition strike team to go out and buy land, get these things planned and entitled, and now the value goes through the roof, because now we can get lines of credit, we can build this, we don't need other investors, we can do it on our own. That list kind of goes on. Well, now you have a sustainable asset with collateral is real estate, right? So you have real estate holdings and a model that is extremely desirable. It's affordable, it can be financed, and you're basically hitting all these targets, if you will, to be able to take that company public that people are going to want to invest into, their 401ks, their IRAs, and so forth. So that's what the plan is for me. Yeah. So I don't have like, in 10 years I want to exit. To be honest with you, I already know I'm never going to retire. So whether I'm having a good run, a bad run, I'm just not letting go. Yeah. But that's the next move for me. Is I want to just be the biggest man cave builder, developer in the world. I want to surround myself with guys like you and have all of our friends come together and have that collaborative community that is lacking in the world, and utilize these assets that everybody can get their hands in and have fun and enjoy their lives and just get involved in. Yeah. That's the overall goal.
Well, my thesis statement, it's crazy we're sitting here saying it, is I want to help men become better men. Yeah. Right? I want to help them raise their children, especially their boys, to become badass men, right? And so in congruence with that thought, now we've got man caves, right? And we've got this, spot where a tribe of men can go to associate with each other and do business and talk shop and get away from our respective, significant others or whatever it is, because they want us to do that too, right? We touched on that earlier.
Well, dude, men's mental health is it's not talked about much. Yeah. I think that's the one thing that is the feminine movement's going on, right? I think it really sucks. So what's happening is guys like this are really starting to pull together. Yeah. And it's so healthy. Yeah. Because it keeps us going. Right. You have guys that are all going through the same shit. We were able to talk. If you don't have that community, whether it's through this asset, it doesn't matter. You got to have a community, and that's what I'm trying to deliver. Yeah. Because I'll tell you right now, my father bought a project right next to me. I see my father a whole lot more, right? So now I'm getting closer to my old man. Yeah. So it's so cool because you could see, even through that, my relationships are growing. Then, some of the other guys that I've never met before that bought units, I don't ever tell them, hey, I'm all off grid, just find out if they're going to talk shit. Now, do you really like my product or not? They always do, so I'm thankful for that. But some of these guys, I'll get to know them. I'm like, wow, this guy owned a huge HVAC, company, an air conditioning company. He took it public and sold it. Wow. He's got millions of dollars. Sure. He's like, take a look at my Rolls Royce. It's $1 million. He opened up the garage. He's got $1 million old school Rolls in there. I'm like, that's tight. Right. He's like, I literally bought this to get this out of my garage because my grandkids have their scooters and they're all around my garage. Yeah. So he bought a man cave just to put his $1 million Rolls in there.
Unbelievable.
But it's cool stuff like that. But I sat there and talked to him for 2 hours. And he's an older guy, and the fruit that he was delivering to me in that conversation about running a business, family, marriage, it was just so cool to be around that. So what you're doing is you're surrounding yourself around guys that, in my opinion, are a lot more humble too. Because for you to get there, again, you've been taking bullets, dude. Yeah. So you just get to a point where you put your heart in your sleeve, you're okay with who you are, and now you're like, this is me. And so I'm having some unbelievable conversations, and that's also a driving force for me to want to scale this side of the business. It's there's a lot of reasons as to why. Yeah. The demand, it makes sense financially from a business side, but then I'm emotionally tied to it too. Yeah. I love this stuff. I love to give back to others. I like seeing men enjoy themselves. Even women are enjoying this too. And they're like I was telling you before, but at the end of the day, if you can get something where it's a win-win-win for everybody, it's probably going to do well. Everyone's going to enjoy, and everyone's going to be making money at the same time. So that's it. That's my big picture, man. That's my big push.
It's awesome. And I think you touched on a real important point, and then I'll bring it home, is women are happier with real men. Right?
Oh,
and that's really the name of the game, right? And so, we've got this pussification of America and this feminine approach, but at the end of the day, women are happier with the real man. And so, to all you men out there that have been trained to believe something different, it's okay. Like, you can go back to who you really are, right? And
totally.
And that's going to improve your mental health, because when you go against your conscience, you go against who you are, it gets tough to live that way,
Facts.
right? And I can say that because I've done that, and I've deluded myself and chose to be someone I'm not before, and it didn't serve me very well at all, right? So.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. I think at the end of the day, women want to be led.
Yeah.
And it's just the way they're wired, the way they're designed. Again, that higher power, how you look at what's the blueprints here?
Right.
Proactive and reactive. Remember, to be proactive, they got to provide safety, health, a good culture, just kind of the whole nine for a woman to be able to shine.
Yeah.
But you got to be a real man. It's okay to be tough. They actually want that.
Yeah.
And the woman that says, I don't want a tough man, you're probably not going to give me what I'm going to need.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
And just think about the selling point for men. It's like, hey, sweetheart, don't worry, I listened to you.
Yeah.
I bought a man cave. I'm taking all my shit and I'm putting it there.
Yep.
And now you got your car back, in the garage again or whatever it is. Yeah. So I think it's great, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like I said, it's a well-rounded asset to get involved in no matter what. But it's a real men's thing for sure.
That's cool.
So, man, I really appreciate it, dude. This was badass.
Yeah, man. Thanks,
really,
bro. I appreciate it right
absolutely,
here.
brother.
Yeah.